topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Experts show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good morning, Florida. Welcome to what we call cold weather. This morning, we're in South Florida. Our expert guest is in South Florida. Is in Tampa, but we both got cold weather. And I got to tell you, my next guest is I don't know if I can say this or not, because she is an incredible estate planning attorney. She's such a sweetheart. We love having her expertise on, and we're talking estate planning today. Let me welcome you to one of my favorites, attorney Debbie Baker, with a big smile and her beautiful cat.
And the cat. Okay. The cat showed up just for you. He heard your voice and went, okay, I'm here. How did I be in the way?
My girlfriend, Sophia, has the exact same color cat as you do, Debbie. And
I know that.
Yeah, so he loves to come on the show, our Monday night show. And I said, listen, Debbie's cat's on all the time. I don't know who's the bigger star anymore.
Well, you can start telling me if you get calls. Just be sure the cat comes back. Anyway, he's sitting here ignoring me at the moment.
Well, welcome to Ask the Experts, Debbie. We're averaging about 4 or 5 new people a day finding the show, and I want to tell you that we got an email about 2 months ago for your last show, saying how intelligent you are, who is an attorney in Orlando who does estate planning. And he was saying how impressed he was with your knowledge. So I thought that's like a supreme compliment.
That's really nice.
For those of you who are just finding the show for the first time, Debbie, tell everybody about yourself and your practice.
Okay. Well, I'm a cat lover. Actually, the first shirt I had on this morning was all cats, and I decided it was too loud. It was too loud. It was too much. Well, about myself. I was born and raised in New York City. I lived there for a long time. Lived in Boston for a while. Came to Florida. Became an executive coach. Have always been driven to be of service. Love to help people answer difficult questions, solve problems, and then in December of 2008, which is, Steve was talking about how fast the year goes. Well, that's 15 years ago, and I think that's totally insane that it's 15 years ago. Anyway, God told me to go to law school, and when I got over the shock, I went to law school. It took 4 years to get there, but I went to law school, and 3.5 years, and I loved it. Another way to be of service, and I chose this area of the law because I never want to be in court. So if that attorney in Orlando likes doing like litigation, I'm always looking for people like that. But I never want to be in court, and I just want people to be able to know that they've put something in place so that when they pass, when they're living, there are documents that their family has, and when they pass, they've done something so that their family doesn't have to do more than grieve, and then take care of some logistical logistical details, but nothing training difficult or whatever. And I know you have questions, Steve, but I just want to go into that. I have a friend whose mother died, who became a client about 2 years ago. She died about a week ago, I guess. And as best as I remember, well, I know I did everything I could to be sure that everything was in place. Her older daughter called me this morning wanting to know what she needed to do now that mom has passed. And I said, if your mom did what we talked about, there was nothing for you to do except grieve. Just go get copies of death certificates, let everybody know that she's passed, but there should be nothing that demands you going to court. And the idea of doing estate planning, which is not a probate-friendly state, Florida is not, is that you have everything in place so that when somebody you love dies, that all you need is death certificates, and you send them to people and they disperse money or whatever, or they don't dun you for bills. And it's really great. It's just really a great feeling. And I think this woman, well, I think she had everything in place. And I'm hoping so. Her daughter had questions like, what about medical bills? What about this? What about that? I said, the estate is responsible for those things, but you are not personally. In my world, as a matter of integrity, if you can pay them, they get paid. It's not a personal responsibility. So for you, Steve, I'm assuming you and Sophia are each other's beneficiaries or whatever. And if she passes and you're not a co-owner on her account, or you're not a co-signer on like a credit card or something, you don't have any responsibility for debt from a legal standpoint. And people don't know that, and they pay all these bills they didn't have to pay legally. Like I said, in good conscience, I think if somebody has a debt and it's possible to pay it, you pay it. From a legal standpoint, there's no legal obligation. And that's part of what my goal is in educating people, is just know that right now somebody's died, your job is to grieve. Just grieve. Anything else, clean or messy, can be taken care of later. Nothing's going away. If you owe money, you'll still owe it in 6 months.
Yeah.
If the bank has money for you, they'll still have it in 6 months. If you have to sell a house, it'll still be there in 6 months. Nothing, big thing, notify any utility you can notify so they stop sending you bills. But other than that, just go grieve. And people get really freaked. And I can understand it, because now what do we do? So it's nice to be, this woman who called this morning, it was just nice to be able to reassure her, just, you're fine. If everything you say is so that mom did, go arrange a funeral, whatever, and then just go cry. Anyway.
Debbie, I think you are so good at what you do because you have such a heart for others. And I have found that in our conversations. And I've been doing this for 12 years. It's not all just about what you've learned, but you got to have, especially in estate planning, because I'm sorry that say I think about you when I hear or read about somebody who's passed away, who was in great condition, who was in their 30s or 40s or 50s. And I don't think they thought they would be passing away at this early of age. I have my thoughts on why this is happening. I'm not going to go into it, but people need to plan early. And I'm going to tell you something. You could not choose a better estate planning attorney than Attorney Baker. So I'm so blessed that we have you. I know that we started off talking last time and we got slashed by the holidays. By the way, Happy New Year to you.
Thanks.
And we were talking about inventorying your stuff.
Oh, inventorying stuff. Yeah.
Tangible and intangible.
Yeah.
And that you need to start doing an accounting for your family needs, and you can't do it too soon, can you, Debbie?
No, you can't do it too soon. It's the tangible stuff. Steve, you can see a good bit of my office. I took some stuff off the desktop because I thought, oh, he's going to send me dead. Move those files. So my daughter will come in here after I pass and go, what did she want me to do with all these things? And then she'll look at all the pictures. The ones she recognizes, she might pass along to the people in them. The rest of it, I collect cats. You can't see that here, not live cats, but cats. So my brother gave me a sign that says, no, you can't have too many. Yes, I need all these cats is what the sign says. So she'll count up all the cats, and then she'll probably take them to a thrift store or something like that. And I've said this before, even Rebel might be a little bit young for this, but people in their 30s even, if you've got something you want somebody to have and you can bear to part with it, give it to them now. Let them enjoy it now, because like you said, Steve, we have no idea when our time is up, whether it's natural causes, people with defective hearts that they never knew they had, the athletes who have their hearts blow up on them in practice, just they had no idea they were in danger, or whatever. And then I can really enjoy whatever it is while you're living. And then after you pass, I have a different sense of its appreciation. It's poignant, but it's not the same. It's not as deep. So tangible, the intangible is all that money, whether I've gotten new clients recently who have quite a bit in cryptocurrency, or they've got gold coins, not necessarily bullion, or they've got sterling silver coins, which pure silver has not been made into coins for quite a while. People need to know where they are, and ideally you have some idea of what it's valued at, so that if somebody comes along and has to sell it, they might get a new appraisal, but they have a starting point. And will say to me, well, my family will take care of it when I'm gone. And well, yeah, I'm not going to talk you into doing anything about it, but why would you want to put your family through any additional hardship when you're gone? And some people there'll be plenty of money. They can hire somebody. It's like, okay. Prepaying for funerals. People say, well, I don't want to do it because I don't know where I'll be. I went, well, if you want to be cremated, you can buy a plan that will pick you up anywhere and transport you anywhere as part of whatever you paid. If you want to be buried, okay, but if you're not going to pay for it, then put money aside literally, like in a separate account that says funeral expenses. Put $10,000 or $20,000 in there, because that's what the average funeral will cost, and earmark it particularly with a beneficiary, so that's what it's for. Don't have your children put things on their credit cards waiting to get paid back. So those are the intangibles that people don't think of. In fairness to them, they don't think about it because it's in their mind what they want to have done, but they haven't told their family, and their family doesn't know. I'm not sure that answers the question, but it's really important. It's really important to inventory all that stuff.
We get a lot of people who want to know more about revocable living trust. And it's like, we offer the show in other cities, and it's the same way in other markets with our estate planning attorneys there, that revocable trust is what's on a lot of people's minds. And can you explain that to people?
Yeah. People will call and tell me I need a trust. And then when we talk, great example, met with a couple last Friday. I thought we were meeting for 45 minutes because they said they had everything in order. So they've moved from Minnesota and then now permanent Florida residents. And they set up a trust in Minnesota, which is fine. Totally valid in Florida. That's not a problem. The trust was never funded, meaning to the best of their knowledge, no, that's not fair. It was funded, but they didn't realize it was funded, or they think it was funded. So they had 3 pieces of property. They had a home they lived in, they had a condo, and they had a timeshare. They're all listed in the trust. However, they have no idea what the titles say.
Ooh.
They sold the home, so it's moot. But I said, if these other properties are not titled in the name of the trust, you effectively have a trust that's of no value to you. But people say, do I need a trust? I said, it really depends. I love that answer. I think the second week in civil procedure, the professor said, a very, very valid answer for an attorney to give a client is, it depends. So let's just say you and Sophia own a home, and you've done it such that your deed is such that it says who owns the home after the second of you dies. But whoever, it could be anybody, okay? Well, then your home is safe from probate, doesn't need to be in a trust. Okay? If all of your bank accounts, retirement accounts, all your accounts are beneficiary designated to your nieces, nephews, children, whatever, charities, whatever, don't need a trust. Okay. If you have minor children, I recommend a trust because children cannot inherit till they're 18 years old. And most of us would not trust an 18-year-old with $50, much less $50,000, if there's money. So you need a trust for that. That's why it depends. It just depends. If you have a special needs child who you know is special needs, a child who's already on Medicaid because of disabilities, you need a trust because they can't inherit money or they lose all their government benefits. You need a trust. The thing is, the revocable part, which people get confused about, is it just means that until you as an individual pass or the second of the founders of the trust pass, you can do anything you want with that trust. So using the example I used about the house and the condo and the timeshare, let's just say all three of those were titled in the name of the trust. As long as that trust is revocable, they can sell all of those properties. They don't need anybody's permission. They don't need any special thing because they're still theirs. They are the owners. The trust only gets them after they pass. So that's revocable trusts. And most people, I'm finding, probably 50% of the people I talk to who think they need one, they can get by without them. I have one guy who's going to do a trust. Why is he going to do a trust? Oh, because he's got a child he's a grown man, but who might wind up in a situation where he's on government benefits. He won't be able to inherit his share of the trust when his father passes. He may not be able to inherit his share of the trust when his father passes. So we're doing a trust with that wrinkle, that extra step included as a contingency, not a definite, but if somebody needed a vehicle to manage this person's money, his father would have put it in place in advance. It's a complex question, but anyway.
Does the revocable trust keep you out of the probate courts?
Depending upon it, it depends. It depends. It doesn't. While it's revocable, it doesn't protect you from creditors.
Okay.
Once it becomes irrevocable, if everything is flowing through, so you and Sophia have a trust, and you have a trust for whatever reason. You want the church to get your money, whatever, you want money, right? Once it becomes irrevocable, those funds, so you have a ABC bank account with $100,000 in it, and the beneficiary of that account is the trust. So when the second of you passes, that money goes to the trust. Once it gets to the trust, it gets distributed the way you want. Whoever in charge will distribute it to the charity. Okay. But while it's revocable, you are not protected from creditors. It's not protected from the IRS or anything like that, as long as it's revocable.
There's so much that needs to be done that it's just amazing. I mean, whether it's a trust or a will or even directions if you're in the hospital. There's just so many things that it's so important that people sit down with you, and because they have no idea what is involved, whereas you have this all in your head.
Well,
And just a simple thing like a will, it still shocks me, Debbie, that there's so many people who haven't even put their will together yet.
well, people don't think they'll die. People don't think they'll have anything. People think they'll die as soon as they do it. Um, and the thing is, we probably said this before, the thing I learned, like just in the last year or two, one of the biggest motivators can be for will is in the event somebody dies and they are in line to be the recipient of a medical malpractice suit or like a bad car accident or something like that. If they have a will in place, they've set up in advance a vehicle to collect any funds that may be due their estate in advance. And I mean, not that they're anticipating that, but it's there. 18-year-olds need them for the same reason because their parents can't do it for them anymore. And I've got a friend who's got a 19-year-old granddaughter, and I said she needs her own documents. And I don't. My friend's been the intermediary between the mother and me, and the mother doesn't seem to understand that anything she's got in place where she's named the daughter to do something for her does not replace her daughter naming her to do something for her. Like you say, she's 19 years old, she's not married. If something happens to her, her mother really can't help her anymore. And those are the advanced health directives that you talked about earlier. And there's no reason people should know. And that's what I tell people all the time. There's no reason for you to know this. I didn't know it 9 years ago. There's no reason for you to know it. That's why people like me exist. People should not do online. We've talked about this. I'm not a proponent of online documents because you don't know that they're state compliant, whether it's Florida or Mississippi or, Alabama or Georgia, wherever. You don't know that they're right. And then you run the risk of having somebody stuck holding an ugly bag that you had thought you had done something about because you weren't willing to spend the money. Or your friends told you that it was a good idea. And we all listen to friends about things. And I've come to believe, don't listen to your friends about a legal issue unless the friends are legal, unless they're attorneys, not even paralegals, unless they're attorneys. Get a different, and you always want to find somebody you can work with that you trust. Don't choose the first person. Just because, 3 people refer me and just to a fourth, and the fourth calls and has the courage to tell those 3 that they didn't like me, then find another one. You want to work with somebody you can trust to get the job done for you. And no attorney out there is the perfect person for everybody.
Debbie, I can't believe I'm looking and taking.
You ran out of time already, Steve. Come on.
Can you believe that? I mean, amazing. But your show always goes by so fast. Give everybody your phone number.
I can be reached at 813-586-1332. 813-586-1332. I'll talk to anybody. I mean, I can practice only in the state of Florida, but if somebody calls me from another state, if you have a friend who has a question, I'm happy to ask their question with the caveat that they need to check in their state. And there are some general guidelines that I can just give people for questions to ask and things to think about. And since this is all a God-driven practice, it's all about being of service.
Debbie is with us the last Monday of every month. She'll be with us again next month. Debbie, we love having you on, and God bless you. We'll see you soon.
Yeah.
We're going to go to break. When we come back, we've got our next expert on. We'll see you in a minute.
And we are back with the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4TV with your hosts, Steve-O, Sophia, and their expert guests.
And we're back early here in the morning in Arizona, and we have our next guest. He's probably, without a doubt, the most experienced physician when it comes to losing weight. He was an internal medicine, still is, but he has learned so much about weight loss, but not just about weight loss, but how to apply it. And that's where people have such a problem. And I have learned so much from him. Let me introduce you to our great physician, Dr. Gupta.
Hey, how's it going?
You know, I love doing your show.
You're very sweet.
I got to tell you, I have seen all kinds of shows that we've done over the years. People who I know who are physicians or chiropractors, and I got to tell you, your method, Dr. Gupta, is something that is going to grow. The more people that find out about your clinic, I think you've hit it right on. And we just have to educate people because they've been indoctored by all these commercials. That's what you're up against.
Yes.
And it's so sad because I think you've got the key to this.
So, no, 100%. And unfortunately, the medical system, the traditional medical system has not helped, effectively the group of people that we want to help, right? Like people who struggle with weight, hormone replacement, pediatric kids, and expanding into substance abuse, stress, and sleep. And in that space, what has come about, unfortunately, is like all these supplements, all these people trying to sell stuff, and that don't truly work. And so what we want to do is we are like the centrist position that we understand with all the empathy that like people are suffering, but we want to like give people and provide people things that work, like medicines that work, techniques that work, like mindfulness, using coaching, therapy, motivational interviewing, things that truly work, not just like pills we sell that don't have any evidence behind it, right? So like things like, acupuncture has evidence behind it. A lot of stuff does that really can help people. And just like, frankly, listening to people, talking to people, getting to know people, all of these ways help us create sustainable change in all of the areas that we work in.
I think what really blows me away, Dr. Gupta, is first of all, you have so many different ways that you can help people. But when you watch a commercial, or I always use the example walking into GNC,
Yeah.
and you say, "Hey, I want to lose weight. What do I take?" And they give you a pill for it. I mean,
Yeah.
Everybody's body's different.
Yes.
And you spend the time, first of all, to almost like what you do with your patients, you do a history and physical on them.
Yes.
You need to learn about them. But these commercials make it like there's one thing for everybody, and that is impossible.
Yes. Everyone is unique. I always tell everybody, every body is different, right? Whether it's like all the genetics, the epigenetics, meaning all the stuff that happened, when people were in the womb, like all of the like microbiome, like our bacteria, all the things that are, just all of that, in addition to our parenting, like our friends, like the comments of your mother-in-law, right? Like, it's just like the society, the Instagram things you watch, right? Like who you listen to, all of it. it all comes into play, like what your friends do, what your career is, how much time you have, your kids. Like I could list literally a billion things that influence these things. Because now I've talked to more than 1,000 people. I've taken away histories from more than 1,000 people. I've seen how this issue, through the extent of people's lives, like changes, and how it's influenced by so many other things, right? And I think really getting into all that, really addressing it. I just talked to another patient who was working like 13 hours, right, every day. And she was like running the whole place. And like, I was just like coaching her through like, hey, you have to like talk to your boss, right? Like this is unfair because this dude's on salary, it isn't even hourly. And so like, the thing is, there's no point. I told her, frankly, I said, there's no point in us talking about a physical activity habit right now because you're working 13 hours, you're gonna be too tired on all your off time, right? So like, this is more about, let's brainstorm how we can talk to your boss to try to, politely, of course, right? But just to communicate your needs and say like, hey, this isn't working for me. I can't work. This is sacrificing my health. So it's just like, really, I tell my patients, nothing's off the table. And when we talk about wellness, there's a lot of structural issues that we also have to deal with, right? It's not just like the shot or like whatever. It's how we can use these shots, medicines, everything in conjunction with everything else in people's lives to create that true wellness. And you can only do that by starting from that place of self-compassion and empathy rather than the guilt and shame and judgment we're all exposed to every day.
I had several people, Dr. Gupta, who wanted to know, since you're an internist, that do you do blood work also on your patients?
Yeah, we do blood work on every patient.
And what about, do you do the saliva test at all?
I don't know. I don't really trust. I mean, I think the evidence behind a lot of stuff is not there. So what we mostly do is just, like your chem panel, your CBC, your cholesterol, your thyroid, insulin level, your A1C, which is like of diabetes. So all like a lot of basic stuff just to make sure everything's cool, And also the best part is like seeing the improvement in the metrics when we repeat it after a few months, that's like the best part. And like the other day, another dude is who's in the car industry, and his LDL cholesterol, like the bad cholesterol, went from like 150s to like 101 after a few months. It was just remarkable to see that. I love it.
Weight Watchers doesn't do that, do they?
I don't believe so. But they did buy Sequence, which is an online like thing. So I think, I've been through Sequence. They don't have like the hour appointment that we do and the half an hour unlimited and stuff. I think they might do labs, but I'm not sure.
Well, the biggest question we've had, which I wanted to save because it could take a few minutes to get through, is people want to know what you do once they sign up with you.
Sure. So once they sign up, what we do is we have our patient coordinator call, explain everything. Then we schedule an hour appointment where we really just get to, when I'm training my new nurse practitioner, and I describe it as like really like feeling someone's life, right? Like really getting in there and asking super granular questions. Like, when you get up, what's the first thing you eat or drink? If you drink coffee, are you drinking on the way to work? Are you buying it at Starbucks? You get to lunch? Is it like, are you guys ordering? Who's the one who's ordering? Who makes that decision? You come home, you're cooking. Like, do you like cooking? Is it like stressful that period? What is it like? Who's cooking? Who's eating? After dinner, who's the one who's instigating the snack? What are you doing? Are you watching Netflix and that? And just like really getting to know people's lives, because from that place, we can find those levers we need to help optimize this that actually work in people's lives, right? And then we talk about the medication, we prescribe the medication, and we kind of like follow up. We have a concierge service. You can text us 8 to 8, like any day of the week. And we also have unlimited health coaching. So we have a booking page. People book half-an-hour appointments. Initially, it's way more frequently, like every week we encourage. And then we have group classes as well, like I run a mindfulness class, but there's resistance training. There's even crochet book club. There's walks. There's a bunch of stuff. Either one is like in person or Zoom. And then, we just keep going, and every month you meet with us, and there's a lot of support along this entire journey, whether you're talking about weight loss or hormone replacement or substance abuse or anything. So it's just really like a really high touch 365 approach. Again, that deals with everything in people's lives. And these aren't like everyone in this clinic is hired by the clinics. We have weekly meetings, there's education, like I'm talking to everybody all the time. It's not like I contract out to a bunch of people that aren't like familiar with the product. So
we got a letter from somebody who we referred them to you that said that they have tried so many different ways, and they said some of them worked for a while, but they always ended up not only gaining the weight back, but even gaining more weight than where they started. And they wanted to know why your program is so much better, and what do you do to keep someone from backsliding?
So that's an excellent question. So what I say is that how we define this issue, as we're talking about weight specifically, is a chronic relapsing thing, right? That's how it's defined by the Obesity Medicine Association. That's how it's defined by now, like a lot of medical agencies, right? And it is. And I've taken a lot of weight histories. People are doing something, they have a commute 2 hours, then something happens in their lives, which completely changes their eating and food environment, which causes like people to struggle, right? So what we do is we practice, and I just had a patient the other day who is now coming back to us just for the maintenance, but like she has been off, she's been doing everything we've been saying. She's doing the medicine once a month only. And like, basically, right, she's kept all the weight off. And it's like, the process is finding in your life what truly works. I think the main issue with what I call diet culture is perfectionism. Like it all makes people feel you got to do everything, right? You can't eat this. You have to eat bed this time. You have to do this, which is impossible in all of our lives. So instead of like any of that, we look at people's lives, find what is actually possible. I always tell my patients, if something's not working, meaning it's not vibing with your life and you're finding yourself not do it, we throw it out, right? This isn't about coming to us and saying, oh, we know the answer. No, this is about we're working together to figure out the answer, right? What is like actually work in your life, right? That's the key point. And I think we practice then, like inevitably, we're going to fail, right? And anything that's unrealistic to think, when you start something, you'll do it every single day of your life, right? And it's that practice of coming back. That's the part we focus on. And that itself is its own thing. And through that process of figuring out what works in a compassionate way, practicing failing, practicing coming back over and over, practicing like as of when weight does come up, we like don't have that fear response and go, okay, I know what to do now to keep it going down, right? And so I think like really focusing on that piece of it is the key, rather than just saying, okay, I did this thing and I have to stick on this thing forever, otherwise it's not going to work, even though my life might change in a billion different ways. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. The name of your practice is Mindful, and it really is
Yeah.
mindful. I mean, it's your whole approach. I think the reason why you're going to be so successful is your approach that no one out there has. You have such a completely different approach, and it's long term.
Yes. That's like the key point, right? We try to create sustainable change. And what I like to say is we build in sustainability right from the beginning.
And you're so far ahead of everybody. I think one of the smartest things you did with your practice is you brought along one of the top children pediatricians.
Yes. Yeah.
Because there's so many parents that don't do anything about their kids at an early age. So when they become adults, it makes it that much harder. And Dr. Gupta, you've always talked about how important stress is.
Yes.
Can you imagine being a child and having to worry about your grades, what kind of sneakers you've got versus everybody, the bullying that goes on in schools? There's so much pressure in schools today. And then kids just come right home, sit down in front of their computer after they've been sitting all day, no exercise, and by the time they become adult, it makes it so tough for you versus if they would have started earlier in life.
Yeah, so I think so. I've struggled with weight as a kid, and I see a lot of patients who have. I think it's more like people don't have resources. Like they go to their pediatrician, the pediatrician doesn't know what to do.
Yes.
Like it's like people are trying to help their kids, right? We all care about our kids. It's just like the thing is, it's really difficult to find that support. So that's what I really want to create is that support to help people, like on a really like almost eventually national scale, to really help people who have issues like this. And like, again, bringing that empathy component to it, right? Like, those two things you said are related. When you have when you struggle with the weight and you're getting bullied and you have all this psychological stuff, of course you want to sit down in front of the TV and not think about anything, right? It's just like the things are related to each other, right? In addition to the addiction of the food and the addiction of the thing. But again, even in this aspect, it's important. I just saw a 17-year-old, but like it's just important to say like, what does the kid want? What does the parent want? What are the issues? How can we actually and really approaching it not from like that non-judgmental space, right? Like, I get it. Like, you're a parent. It's like you're trying to help your kid, but I get you're a kid. Like, everyone in your life is telling you got to lose weight. It's not like anyone doesn't think that, right? But that's not helpful. And I have to actually talk to the parent, like saying like, you brought your kid here out of love and everything, but this is, and this it's just like telling the kid always like, oh, you have to do this makes them feel like so much guilt and shame and makes them not want to do anything, right? It makes them close down and drink like the soda and play the video games or whatever, right? So instead we're saying like, play the video games, that's fine, right? That's like the thing, but let's like the first step, let's switch from this energy drink you're drinking that has like a shit ton of sugar or like a lot of sugar and switch it to like one that doesn't, right? The artificial sweetener. That's like the first step, right? Or the other, like what food is around, right? Because often like people are like, oh, we're not going to bring food because they don't know how to deal with it. Instead, let's have food that the kid likes, but that is more optimal versus other food, right? So I think like really even that, just it's important that self-compassion and empathy. It's like you have to start with that because I think too often everyone goes to somebody and like they run like 6 miles a day or whatever, and they're like, I can do it, why can't you? Basically, right? Even in the kindest way. And I think you have to really understand that that's nonsense because but 70% of us struggle with this. And biologically, we're made to like eat and store energy, right? And so I think just like really understanding that is the only way to truly help somebody.
How much do you get into types of foods? I call it a diet, but types of foods they should be. Do you get into the food area a
Yeah.
lot?
Yeah, 100%. We go right like that's
We are so inexperienced
yeah.
about
Well,
what the right food is, what the
exactly.
wrong food is. And sometimes, there's foods that are healthy for you that are fattening.
So I think that okay, so about this, right? Like I think the issue is we get so much conflicting messaging, right? And it's so hard to know what to eat, right? So I think Michael Pollan, he writes a book and he wrote like, in the past, you just like your grandparents you ate, and now it's just you have like a billion things. And this is just another function of this modern food environment, right? It's so hard. They make so many products, they try to trick you in a million ways. So I think the key to understand is there is not a right answer. Okay. The right answer is what works for you. So what we do is we see where you are and how can we optimize from where you are, not like getting everybody to a specific thing, right? It's about where are you and how can we optimize 100, 200 calories. That's all it is.
It's so amazing. It's yeah, and I got to get this in because oh my God, we have been inundated. And if I look at where most of them are coming from are from California and Nevada, where your show runs at. Everybody wants to know about the injections, Dr. Gupta.
Yeah.
And, one of them, there's been a lot of things have come out about some of the dangers that they've been just, I'm trying to think offhand, but a lot of stomach issues,
So
and
yeah.
everybody wants to know what's the right thing, what's the wrong injection, and how they work.
So what these injections do is they emulate our fullness pathway, right? They decrease our hunger, decrease our craving, increase our satiety. They're revolutionary molecules, but again, the majority of people who are providing them don't give anyone any support, right? So I firmly believe these are miracles, but like you gotta use them in safe ways and effective ways, and that's what we do, right? Because we're there 8 to 8. Like I know somebody who like sees people at an urgent care. She's like a part-time NP for me. She sees people who go to somewhere else and then they come to ask her at the urgent care to help with dosing, which is dumb because what we do is we help like figure out the balance between effect and side effect. And I just want to ask, we have like amazing, like really crazy New Year's specials right now. I'm in the process of redoing our site because I don't think it communicates that clearly, but it really, just if you contact us at the 310-220-4543, again, 310-220-4543, just got to text us. We can definitely be part of this journey to make these medications work. Because I understand, like, I've seen all the, stories of people who have these like intestinal blockages because they do slow your GI tract, but your body's doing that normally when these molecules, your natural GLPs are being released, right? But if you can dose it in safe and effective ways with a trained professional, which we're obesity medicine trained, I'm an internal medicine trained, you can make these medicines very safe because on the other side, unfortunately, when you struggle with excess weight, you have problems of heart disease, stroke, issues with your kidneys, you have atrial fibrillation. You also have risk of cancers when you struggle with a lot of excess weight because fat cells produce more estrogen and insulin like growth factor. So like, I think that we humans struggle with the status quo bias and that like doing nothing is better than doing something sometimes or safer than doing something, but that's not necessarily the case in this food environment where every day, like I'd like to ask like how many people does like Frito-Lay's kill every day, Like I think that it's really, really important to take all of this into consideration.
We also had somebody who wanted to know, do you treat people who are overly obese?
Yes, we treat everybody.
Okay.
100%. We treat people who struggle with like what we call like class 3 obesity and above, like BMIs over 40, 50, all that.
We've got about 2 minutes left, Dr. Gupta. Why should I come to your clinic if I'm
Because
overweight?
because I'm sure everyone now has heard of as you said, the shots, like these new things, and heard good things, bad things, maybe know people who have done really good, maybe know people who've had bad experiences, right? And there's a billion places online you could get them. And all those places, though, are just like 5-minute appointments and shot. And that's why you hear to these horror stories. And then people, as soon as they're off of them, they regain weight. What we do is use these shots, right? They are miracles, but we use them with this comprehensive and holistic approach that kind of like starts with if you come in for weight, but deals with all the suffering in your life and helps create true wellness, which is a virtuous cycle, which helps with sustainability in terms of weight or hormones or anything else, right? So I think that our approach, combining what I call evidence-based medicine with evidence-based holistic medicine, right, is really the way to go to actually create change in people's lives.
I think if someone especially someone who's tried everything and has thrown their hands up, if you haven't gone to talk to Dr. Gupta, you haven't tried everything. Let's give everybody the phone number again, Dr. Gupta.
So call us, just text or call at 310-220-4543. Again, 310-220-4543. We're in the process of rebranding to mindfulwellness.com. So mindfulwellness.com.
Dr. Gupta, we love having you on.
Thank you, Steve.
Dr. Gupta will be back again with us next month with more Ask the Experts. Thank you, Dr. Gupta.
Bye. Talk to you soon.
Thank you all so much. We'll be back again with you next week with more Ask the Experts. Have a good week.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.